In her riding of Vancouver East today, longtime Member of Parliament Libby Davies announced that she will not run in next year's federal election. First elected to the House in 1997, Davies' political career stretches all the way back to Vancouver City Council in the 80s and early 90s. Why is she leaving now, and what stands out for her during her time as an MP? Joining me now from Vancouver, the Deputy Leader of the NDP, Libby Davies. Good to see you, Ms. Davies.
Hi, Rosie. How are you? Good.
Good. So tell us, why did you decide to make this announcement now? Why are you pulling back now?
Well, I just felt it was time to call it a day. As you pointed out, I've been an MP for almost 18 years and in public service and community service for almost 40 years. And I had to make a decision. Did I want to run in the next election? And if I was re-elected, to contemplate the idea of another 5 years. And I thought about it long and hard, and I decided I think it's time to call it a day, and it's time to pass the torch on.
Yeah.
And so that's the decision I made. It's entirely personal, and I've got no regrets. And I love my job. I love being a member of Parliament. It's an amazing thing to do, but I decided it was just time for me to call it a day.
It's awfully demanding, though, and you're traveling from British Columbia, I don't know, once a week or twice a week back and forth. So I imagine that takes a toll at some point as well.
Actually, that's the one thing I probably won't miss is the traveling back and forth. It does get to you after a while. And even last night, it was turbulent, and I was like gripping onto my seat because I actually don't like flying, if you can believe it. And I was thinking, God, I've done this for 18 years. It's time to give it a break.
So you've been here for like almost 2 decades, really, on the Hill.
Yeah.
What is there something that you're most proud of? Something you did that you felt like you had changed, Canada, improved Canada, helped a particular group of people? Is there one thing that stands out?
Yeah, I represent a very unique riding. It's not your average sort of suburban riding, East Vancouver with the downtown east side. And I really think that I've helped put on the national stage some of the key important issues in East Vancouver that are also national, like sex worker rights and the safe injection site and housing and homelessness. And these were issues that when I first was elected, people said to me, you'll never get re-elected if you start speaking out and working on these issues. But people stood by me, and I really feel that it's been important to give visibility and awareness and action to these very critical issues that often get dismissed and marginalized. So I feel that that's been very much a part of my role, has been to be an advocate for people who are often not heard and to bring that voice to Parliament. And I hope I've been able to do that over these 18 years.
There are, I know, a lot of your colleagues, your NDP MPs, in particular the younger women who look up to you and look to you. How has it changed being a woman on the Hill over the past 18 years? I mean, has it improved, or I guess I'm not sure if it's the right time to ask that question, but give us a sense.
Yes and no. First of all, there's more of us, which is really important. The NDP has more women than any caucus in the history of Canada has ever had. I think it's 40%. We have more women in the House than we've had before. I mean, when I first ran in politics in the early 80s, well, going back to the 1970s actually, when I first ran, there were very few women in politics. My role models were men. And so I do think it's really good that there are more women in politics, and I've made it a particular issue over the years to encourage and support women to run. It's very important, but it's really tough, and as we've seen on Parliament Hill recently, there's still sexism. There are still challenges for women and obstacles, but I do think it's so important that we encourage and support women, particularly young women, women of color to run, Aboriginal women. It's very important that we have our place in Parliament and we speak out, because we do change the agenda. This is a very male-dominated environment. I mean, just look at question period. So to me, it's been very important to have women there and to always encourage progressive women to run.
Do you have any regrets? Maybe it's too soon to ask you that, but one of the things that people will remember about you is some comments about Israel that were viewed as sort of anti-Israel, or at least offside with maybe where your party was at. Do you think that you were ever too strident on some of your views that maybe didn't coincide with everybody else's in your party?
Well, it's interesting that you use the word strident because it's always used about women. I've never heard a man called strident. I've always been interested in the use of language.
Well, I'm a woman too, and I would use it with a man, just so you know, Libby.
Yeah, okay. You know what? I don't have any regrets. I mean, sometimes you get into difficult areas and you have to like work your way through that. But I don't have any regrets. As I say, I think this has been just an incredible opportunity to be a member of Parliament, and I've loved it every single day, even those days when sometimes it was tough, because to me it wasn't about a career or power. It was really about bringing issues forward. It was about working with people, about fighting for my community and for people who often don't get heard. And so I feel good about that, and what I feel amazed about is how people have supported me and stood by me over these years, and I have a tremendous amount of gratitude, not just from the good folks of East Van, but right across the country. And we do have a great caucus, and I've worked very closely with Mr. Mulcair. I have tremendous respect for him. He's very experienced, he's got a lot of depth, and he's the guy who's going to take on Stephen Harper. He's already doing that. He shows us that in the House every day.
Do you feel, though, that the party still represents the progressive party that you joined, or do you think that it has moved into, you know, a slightly more centrist position where perhaps there are more votes, to be quite frank?
Well, you know what? When when I was first elected, I went through this whole debate about sort of Blairism with Alexa. Even Jack was, you know, people said Jack's moving the party. And so I think it's just one of those debates that we love to have within the NDP. I think the positions that we're taking in terms of a national childcare program, a minimum wage, healthcare, which I've worked on a lot. I mean, I think we're on solid ground. We're reaching out to those very important progressive values in this country, and I think they're resonating. So I feel very confident that we have an incredible caucus, we have an incredible leader, and we're well positioned to like keep the momentum going. It's going to be an interesting federal election.
So
for sure.
Obviously you're not going to run, but you're still going to be campaigning because you're doing that right now. What are you going to What are you going to do next? Are you going to? I don't see you putting your feet up, but will you do a bit of that? Or?
Well, as I said in my press conference, I'm not the kind of person who's going to sit twiddling my thumbs. I'm a political animal. I'm always going to be involved in politics. What that role is, Rosie, I don't know. I mean, I'm going to take some time off, obviously, when the election is over. I'm going to, you know, think about, I've never planned things, actually. I never believed I would be an MP, never believed I'd be a city councillor. I never planned it. So I'll just kind of see where things lead me. But I know I will always be politically active. Because I do care a lot about things that I work on and working with people and building strong movements and alliances with people, both in the electoral sense and in a social movement sense. So I'll continue to do that. I'm not exactly sure how that will play out, but time will tell.
Okay, and of course you're not gone yet. You're here with us until the next election.
I'm here until the election, absolutely.
All right, well, I appreciate your time today, Ms. Davies. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.